Hi guys, Goffy here, and in today's video we're going to talk about a book that I think any film photographer should at least have a look through, if not own. Yeah, I know, books can be a little bit boring, but there's one type of book that I absolutely love, and that's a picture book. Previously, I've owned lots of books based around my other hobby, which is watches and not photography, and it seems a bit silly that I haven't ever bought a photography based book if I love looking at photos. But recently I picked up my first photography book and I cannot put it down. I can't stop flicking through it, and I've pretty much read it now from start to finish. And that book is this. It's Magnum Contact Sheets. So for those of you that don't know who Magnum are, Magnum was founded 2 years after World War II by 4 photographers. They are Robert Capa, Henri Cartier-Bresson, George Roger, and David Seymour. The agency was founded in Paris and New York and later moved to other big cities around the world. These 4 photographers formed Magnum to allow them to do 2 things differently. Now the first one, as it was a cooperative, it was there to help support photographers rather than direct them. So photographers were allowed to go on their own assignments. It wasn't based on a magazine telling them where to go. Now the second part to it is actually to do with copyright, and it's something that we kind of take for granted today. So previously how it would work is a magazine would approach a photographer, send you off on an assignment, you'd go and take a load of photos, and at the end of the day the magazine themselves would own the images, meaning you got to sell them once. What Magnum allowed the photographers that were part of the group to do was to go out on their own assignments, take the photos they wanted to take, and then sell the photos that they owned to different magazines. And it meant that you could get more than one sale from your photos. Now one of the great advantages that these guys had, especially early on, was so much of the world was unphotographed. So you could basically go on an assignment to somewhere interesting, somewhere far away, with a different culture, take photos, and magazines would come clambering for these photos as they just hadn't been photographed yet. This resulted in Magnum covering a huge array of events that happened in the 20th century, and an awful lot of them are in this book. This book covers from 1933 all the way through to 2010. So it actually features a little bit of photography from the 4 founders before Magnum was formed. This book covers everything you could imagine, from war to famine to llamas sticking out of cars. Okay, great then. So is this just a photo history book? If so, what's the difference between this and everything else? And the clue is in the title, it's contact sheets. So this book is full of contact sheets. For those of you that don't know what a contact sheet is, typically it's a positive print of all of the images from a roll of film. It was used so that you could quickly find the keepers inside of a roll of 36, and it was also used to send away to magazines, and they could highlight which images they wanted before they then actually took the film and enlarged them. Now this is something you don't normally see. You normally only see the finished product, the one photo that made it to print, the photo that made it to the magazine or poster. It's no different today. You don't see the memory card of the 300 images from a fashion shoot, you just see the one image that made the cover of the magazine. So this then gives you a little bit of a peek behind the scenes. Was the shot a fleeting moment? Was the photo somewhat staged? Did it take multiple attempts? And the thing that I really like is it tells a good story. You can see the way the photographer moved throughout the scene and the way the day progressed. And that information to me I think is invaluable. There's a lot to learn from it, and you get to see, was there 5 good photos on a roll of 36? Was there just one? Why did they pick the one they picked? And this all goes along with accounts from the photographers, often themselves, saying how they felt about the trip. I'd planned at this point to talk about a single story inside of this book that resonated with me, but I honestly really struggled. There is so much in here, and like I said earlier, it covers from 1933 all the way through to 2010. Here's a quick glance at the contents page, and you can just see how many entries there are in each one. A couple of the stories and images that have stood out to me though, one of them is David Hearn shooting the Beatles, and he talks about the story about how it was kind of a friend of a friend that got in touch with him and told him that they were in town, and he ended up going and shooting them. There's another set of images from Steve McCurry. It's quite a famous set of images to do with a sandstorm in India back in 1983. And this was shot on slide film, so the colours are bright and rich, and the women are quite often wearing red dresses, and it contrasts quite harshly with the desert sand. And I absolutely love the set of images, and it's quite fun to see all of the slides laid out. Then a little bit more recent, you've got Chris Steele Perkins in 1999 shooting Mount Fuji. This is more of a landscape feature. It's got a good mix of Japan's kind of industrial side along with Mount Fuji in the background, and it makes a really contrasting shot. And again, I love how the images have come out. You get to see the story behind the images. So the bad news is this book is actually not for sale anymore. I picked this up on eBay for about £40 and they appear quite often. There was a hardback and a paperback version of the book. The hardbacks do fetch quite a premium though. This is the paperback version, and like I said, I paid about £40–50 for it. They keep coming up on eBay, there's lots of them out there, and if you see one, I honestly recommend you pick one up. There's a lot to be learnt from the contact sheets and just seeing how these photographers took their photos, how the day played out, how they moved around the scenes, how many shots did they take? Was it the first shot? Was it the 100th shot? Like, it's so nice to be able to get a better feel from the photographer's perspective rather than from the final publisher or magazine that have just picked the best 3 images. Why did they pick the 3 images? On a lot of them, I don't like the 3 images they've picked compared to 3 other images that you can see on the contact sheets. And for me, I'm probably a little bit naive about what's happened in the 20th century. There's a lot of stories in here that are slightly less known about, but it was the photographer that was like, I really want to go and shoot this. So there's a few things in here that I didn't even know happened in the 20th century, and I get to see it through photographers' eyes and all of the images they took. And this book for sure has had a bigger impact on my photography than anything else I've bought in the last year. If you've enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like and subscribe. There's plenty more of this sort of content coming. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!